Hello, and welcome to Greek the Week. I am Mona Duncan, and today's topic is on achieving personal change. And I wonder about that. There's a lot in my life that have changed, and I think that I had some help in making those changes. But then there are also people that I've had acquaintance with that they seem to think that they've made a lot of changes in their life, but I'm not always aware of that. So, well, it doesn't seem like a lot of changes taken place. But we're looking today at achieving personal change and some thoughts that, let me share the screen, just some thoughts that may resonate with you. And if not, then just one of those things. Okay, so achieving personal change. Change is the shift from one state to another. And sometimes that shift and that change is brought about by force. Sometimes it's because we want to make those changes, that we are actively engaged in it. There may be outside factors that we have no control over. Yet the most satisfying and most lasting changes are those that we choose to make for ourselves. So we'll just kind of explore some of those. I have a little chameleon here. I don't know that we can change as quickly as a chameleon or not. Anyway, some keys to change or some thoughts on changing. That change is the shift from one state to another. And it is usually brought on by something that stimulates us. It's something that has gotten our attention. It's something that has that we're overwhelmed with, or what. There may be some outside side factors, but it comes down to the choice that we make for ourselves. And so the key to change, or one of the major key to change, is wanting to. Do I want to change? Or do I want the situation to change so thereby can I take any actions? And then also it is a major factor is having the courage to see a change that needs to be made and to either speak up or to see how I can change something within myself. And then recognizing that there are a lot of things that influence change. Is it something that we need? Is it because of the circumstances? Is it more information that's either needed or not had? Is it the situation, the atmosphere? Is it just serendipity? There are so many things that influence the desire to change, the need to change, the ability to change. So here, I was thinking back and how the time and circumstances arrive. Later on, we're going to be talking about the creative mind, which some people call the unconscious mind. But the creative mind is that internal mind. It was named by Dr. William Glasser, the founder of choice theory, that the creative mind is something that is aware of it's intimately aware of who we are and what we're doing and what's going on, and is always giving us information if we are willing to listen. But anyway, sometimes the timing and the circumstances arrive, whether we know it or not, maybe serendipitous or not. That at age 27, I was working at the Success Motivation Institute, and I was shocked by a dormant childhood dream that made itself apparent. I was writing out and working on a goals book on goal setting. And the question was asked just plainly and bluntly, and it says, if you could do anything, regardless of money, regardless of time, regardless of education, regardless of approval, what would it be? Wow. I gave some thought to that because there was a lot of things that I wanted to do, wanted to be, that, a lot of those things took money, they took time, they educate, or they certainly took approval. But as I thought about that, I wrote down, and I even surprised myself. I wrote down, I want to write. And now, as a child, I had written poems and stories and so forth. But it's looking at the fact, and it became this, I want to write. So I began to looking at, is it possible? And change is possible. And no matter what has happened before, today is a new day. And that new day is always has possibilities. As a matter of fact, every day is a new day, whether we acknowledge it as being a new day or not. And the past is not today. So maybe the past has not been all that fulfilling. Maybe the past has some pain in it, but it's not today. Failure is not final. Rarely, rarely ever is failure final. And that the missing ingredient is inspiration. You know, we need to be inspirited. We need to not go with the molly grubs. We need to not go with the depressions. We need to take charge and realize that to get some inspiration and to let yourself know that you're capable of success. What happens all too often is we don't let ourselves know that we are capable of. And sometimes the things we are capable of have been those mistakes that we've made. And we need to acknowledge the fact that maybe that was a big factor in it. So, and then also looking at the fact that good old Henry Ford's pronouncement that whether you think you can or whether you think you can't, you're right, because we are pretty much self-determining. So our change is personal, meaning that it may be benefit others, but it must be done for you. Although others will benefit, if your intent is to please someone else, then the change will not be sustaining. It may just be a, initial thing, just to put on, just an act. We are all self-determining, and we can decide to make it happen or not. We can keep on mulling it over and over, or we can actually put it into action. We can be a positive influencer in another person's pursuit of change. However, the only one person you can change, even if that's possible, is yourself. We may influence others. And then caution, 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 caution. You cannot take credit for changes that others make, even if they give you credit for it. Be thankful for the fact that you did have an influence, but bottom line is that we are all have our own free will. And that when someone else blames others, this is just a kind of a little quirk of mine, that when someone blames others for their failures, well, this happened, so-and-so did this, so-and-so did that, so-and-so did that. I have a tendency to think, okay, if you blame them for your failures, maybe you also need to blame them for your successes. Just a thought. So change is a process. It is not an event as such. It's a process. It's a keep on keeping on. Nothing grows without changing. Even that seed that is planted, although you know what kind of a seed, or possibly you know what kind of a seed you planted, it will take time to become what it is. Transformation is not openly apparent. As things are beginning to grow and grow, or beginning to change, we're not always keen to seeing that. And change is a marathon. It's not a sprint. It's not just go out there and run for a few feet. It's an ongoing thing. So we need to give ourselves room to grow. Give yourself courage to grow. Give yourself the ability to. And to rest and embrace your development. You may be tired. You may think you can't do it again. But as you're beginning to see some changes in the thoughts you think, the actions you take, then take the time to embrace that and to feel good about that change that is becoming apparent. and then give change a chance to prove itself. Maybe sometimes you may have to speak up and tell someone that change is happening. I know my daughter, uh, when she would go to, especially whenever she was going to spend time with her cousins, I was giving instructions of to do this and don't do that, and don't do something else. And one day she told me, she says, "Not, Mom, I'm not like that anymore. I don't, I'm not." And I said, "Hey, thanks. I appreciate you telling me that. I'll begin to notice that you have made that change, and I won't bring it up anymore." So sometimes we need to give chance a change to prove itself and then to acknowledge it and to let others know. Also, it's knowing that change is an inside job. The mind focuses on what we dominantly think about again and again and again. But sometimes we need to see it. When I see it, I'll believe it. So sometimes we need to literally see deep down inside, think about, concentrate, see yourself being kinder if that's what you want. Concentrate on yourself eating less if that's what you want, or saying no to those tempting desserts if that's what you really want. As you begin to see it, you can begin to believe that it is possible. Also, picture yourself with those skills and abilities and attitudes that you want to develop. And then always use positive self-thinking. That whenever that negative thought comes to you, begin to applaud a lesson that you've learned and how that you are overcoming that. Change is understood and becomes more apparent to us as we reflect. It is, and having a sounding board, having someone that you can make comments and give comments back to you can be invaluable. I know I have a friend that for 20 years, we met once a week, once a month, and we were each other's life coach. Because having someone to help support you, a friend or journaling for yourself, can help you to mull over what you're thinking, to get your frustrations out, to see what you have accomplished, and to see what your plans are. And in writing, whether it's writing to publish or whatever, it's having that meditation. It's talking. It's like looking into a mirror. Sometimes if you look into a mirror, you can see if there's something on your face. You can see if something is askew. And so having those reflections is like looking in a mirror to see what else you can do, what else is possible. It also can reveal what may be keeping us stuck, as it begins to show the fact. I think I've mentioned this before, that the very first time I saw myself on being recorded on video, I thought, oh, whoa, first of all, I'm not that large, but I really was. And then it was also how that my expressions or my hand gestures were a little wild. And so sometimes through that reflection and through looking at other things, we can see how we may have some own points of growth that would contribute to the change we're wanting to incorporate. And so here, change definitely encompasses our total behavior. And what is that? Well, effective change really kind of depends on kind of a personality adjustment. It also, that behavior, the total behavior, according to Dr. William Glasser and reality therapy choice theory, has 4 components: the thoughts you think, the actions you take, the emotions that you then feel based on the thoughts you think and the actions you take, as well as the automatic response system of our body mechanics. Meaning that the thoughts we think, the actions we take, is it making the blood pressure go up or is it calming it down? What is it doing to us physically? And it's trying to change only one element is self-defeating, because we are that total behavior. We encompass our thoughts, our actions, our feelings, and our physiology. And just trying to change one, it just doesn't work. The aim to tame your temper starts with an internal development of forgiveness and having compassion. not only compassion and forgiveness toward you, but also toward others. And then part of really changing is learning to forgive self and others. So here is a graphic from A Course in Miracles, that forgiveness paints a picture of a world where suffering is over, where loss becomes impossible, where anger makes no sense, where attack is gone, and where madness has an end. And whether that madness is arrogance or being mad or being angry, or but change is definitely worth the effort. We often have difficulty seeing the obvious. That we want to make a change, and maybe the change in the environment, in the surroundings, in the office, in the whatever, maybe a small thing that we could do, but it's, if it, maybe needs that influence, may need to start with us. And we often can't see the obvious. And so Dr. William Glasser kind of calls or coined the phrase creative mind. A lot of people look at it as being the subconscious mind or the unconscious mind. But he coined it the creative mind, because that creative mind, of all of the elements of the mind, the creative mind is intimately, it knows us intimately. And the creative mind works smoothly to help us achieve competence. And I suggest that part of that is bringing back those initial childhood memories of what I want to be when I grow up. That I was surprised when I wrote down, I want to write. Well, there's also been some hurts that have been stored in my creative mind, that where I was done wrong and where I was hurt emotionally, I was hurt spiritually, I was hurt financially. And so it's realizing that as we can incorporate all of those change factors, but realizing that if we want to change, sometimes we have to let go of those things we're holding on to that makes us being unforgiving. And so, as we wrap up here, I suggest that the key to change is looking into that changeless sense of who you are. Know that the fidelity to the original will remain intact, and that you simply will become the best you possible. So thanks for being here, and stop sharing, and many blessings.